Tell me, have you ever wondered just how much sugar the average American consumes in a single year? The answer is nearly 60 kilograms, which breaks down to about 17 to 20 teaspoons of sugar every single day. From the kaleidoscopic displays of candy aisles to the honey-colored pancakes drenched in syrup and the donuts glazed until they gleam under cafeteria lights, it's safe to say that in America, sweetness is not merely a preference of the palate, it is a kind of faith, one deeply rooted in daily life, the economy, and even the very culture itself. And yet, even though I had steeled myself for this reality, when I first heard that an item named Kool-Aid pickles existed on the American table, I couldn't help but be utterly astonished. This Kool-Aid is a flavored drink mix brand under the Kraft Heinz umbrella. The product was first created in 1927 by the food inventor Edwin Perkins, a mysteriously formulated, sweet, fruit-flavored concentrate powder. In an era when the beverage market was a battlefield of titans, this remarkably simple product packaged in paper envelopes and touted with the slogan "makes 10 times its volume for only 10 cents" was an inexpensive godsend. It gradually became the signature summer drink for American children, the beverage of choice for every pool party, beach vacation, and outdoor picnic. Later, perhaps somewhere in the Mississippi Delta where pickles are especially beloved, a new creation emerged. People began adding Kool-Aid powder and sugar into a jar with crisp dill pickles, brining them for several days to create an abstract food, brilliantly colored and possessing a flavor profile that was simultaneously sweet, salty, and sour. And because Kool-Aid itself boasts a multitude of flavors, the permutations and combinations could yield a nearly infinite variety of pickle flavors. In fact, some local businesses in Mississippi have even developed specific recipes and commercialized them, essentially building an entirely new product category on the back of Kool-Aid. Wouldn't you say that's impressive? Beyond the Kool-Aid pickle, I believe Americans have created another abstract food worthy of discussion, the so-called roasted marshmallow. For the longest time, my entire memory of this item seemed to be pieced together from snippets of dialogue in various cartoons. It reached a point where I began to suspect it was a fictional food, existing only in the world of fairy tales. But in truth, this popular snack in both the United States and Canada not only exists, but it also boasts a rather distinguished history. First, the marshmallow we speak of here is not the fluffy, cotton-like candy floss we might imagine. It was originally a medicinal preparation invented by the ancient Egyptians over 2,000 years ago, processed from a plant called the marshmallow to treat inflammation. It was the French who later invented the method of mixing in sugar and egg whites, creating a soft confection with a cotton-like texture. The American roasted marshmallow involves heating this soft candy over a campfire, then sandwiching it between two whole wheat crackers, a sweet sandwich. These crackers, incidentally, were invented in the early 16th century by a New Jersey Presbyterian minister named Sylvester Graham. The technique for roasting the marshmallow is a matter of great debate. Whether it's gently warmed or charred to a crisp, the method brings a completely different texture and taste to the final product. As for who invented this peculiar way of eating them, it's a mystery that perhaps even Americans themselves cannot solve. But the group that can almost certainly be credited with popularizing it is the Boy Scouts during their summer camps in the 1920s. And this is precisely why, in realistic film and television productions, whenever this treat appears, it is almost always in the hands of American children. A break has been skipped if American desserts were a bizarrely shaped and strangely structured building, then the dark, rich brownie would likely be the very bricks that form it. The brownie is also like a canvas, and sugar, butter, and chocolate are its three primary colors. Americans have used it to unleash nearly all their creative passions in the realm of sweets. The form, density, and ingredients of this thing seem to have no fixed rules. Its relatively consistent features are 1. Its crispy, cookie-like outer crust, 2. Its dense and decadent brownie filling, and 3. The common final step of being doused in chocolate syrup. The brownie began to gain popularity in the first half of the 20th century, but its origin can be traced precisely to the year 1893. Its inventor was the proprietress of the Palmer House Hotel, a Chicago socialite named Bertha Palmer. As the story goes, that year, the Sixth World's Columbian Exposition was being held in Chicago, and Mrs. Palmer was the president of the so-called Board of Lady Managers. To ensure that the ladies attending the fair could enjoy a delicious cake in an elegant manner, she commissioned her pastry chef to create a new confection. It was covered in an apricot glaze and made with a recipe calling for 1 pound of butter, 1 pound of brown sugar, and 1 pound of chocolate. After baking, it was cut into small squares to be shared. This was the brownie. One can only imagine the impact a dessert with such rich ingredients would have heard on the palates of the late 19th century. Amidst a chorus of praise from all who tasted it, the brownie became an overnight sensation. After the fair, it became a permanent signature item at the Palmer House Hotel. Later, through its promotion in publications like the Boston Cooking School Cookbook and the Fanny Farmer Cookbook, the brownie became one of America's most beloved home-baked desserts. Americans even designated December 8th as National Brownie Day, a testament to its profound status in the nation's culinary life. In a way, this treat feels like the pizza of the dessert world. Upon its foundation, you can build all sorts of different versions. Among the classic variations with minor changes are the caramel brownie, cheesecake brownie, and matcha brownie. Among the more significant and regionally specific variations, the famous Mississippi mud pie stands out. This pie emerged in the post-World War II era, a time representing the prosperity of American home baking. Its most fundamental change was the addition of chocolate wafer crumbs to the brownie's trinity of butter, sugar, and chocolate. This not only made its texture richer and denser, but it also gave it a color that more closely resembled the dark mud of the Mississippi River banks. The most classic way to eat it locally is served with ice cream and an extra sprinkle of chocolate shavings. Furthermore, since there is no definitive inventor, there are no fixed standards for what a Mississippi mud pie should be. Some insist it should have a brownie-like texture. Others prefer a silkier, more pudding-like mouthfeel. And still others, throwing all caution to the wind, toss in marshmallows, or even whiskey. It's no wonder it has become a quintessential example of liberal creation in the world of American desserts. But regardless of the version, if you are truly a pious devotee of sweets, you would surely find its temptation impossible to resist. In the Western culinary system, both Britain and the United States are nations with a special affection for pie. The former, however, tends to favor the various meat pies inherited from medieval royalty and nobility. But in American ovens, pie is a category that belongs more to the realm of desserts and snacks. And aside from the Mississippi mud pie mentioned earlier, Americans have countless other masterpieces of cloying sweetness. But if we are to speak of the most famous, historically significant, and uniquely American creations, two stand out above all: pecan pie and key lime pie. Of the two, this one with the greater age is the so-called pecan pie. The earliest written record of it can be found in a recipe published in the famous women's magazine, Harper's Bazaar, in 1886. The pecan in its name is a nut native to the American South, a specialty with a history of consumption stretching back over 8,000 years. Pecan pie is a sweet pie made with this nut as the main ingredient, mixed with eggs, butter, and a sweetener. This sweetener was originally likely maple syrup or molasses. Later, in 1902, the American Corn Refining Company introduced a product that would define an era: a light-colored corn syrup in a clear bottle. Around the 1930s, the company began to vigorously promote recipes for pecan pie featuring its syrup. And so, pecan pie grew alongside the American Corn Refining Company, eventually developing into one of America's three great pies, standing shoulder to shoulder with pumpkin pie and apple pie. Now, for key lime pie. Much like how pecan pie was born from these pecans of the American South, its origin is owed to a product from the Sunshine State, Florida. It's a type of Mexican lime, commonly known as the key lime, which is smaller, more yellow, but with a thinner peel, more juice, and a more intense flavor. Key lime pie is made using its juice, combined with egg yolks and condensed milk, all held within a graham cracker crust. This uniquely flavored, traditional American dessert was reportedly invented in the late 19th century by Aunt Sally, the cook for Florida's first millionaire, William Curry. And in a parallel to how the American Corn Refining Company's syrup made pecan pie a star, the true driving force behind key lime pie's popularity was the Borden's Condensed Milk Company. In the 1930s, this company hired a culinary expert known as the director of Borden's Test Kitchen to teach the public numerous home recipes involving condensed milk. Among these, the most famous was the Magic Lemon Cream Pie, which was a rebranding of the original key lime pie. Now, if you were to ask why they chose such a mysterious name to rebrand the original pie, marketing gimmicks were only part of the reason. The other reason is that when the lime juice combines with the condensed milk and egg yolks, the ingredients truly do set without any baking, due to a wondrous chemical reaction. So for the American homemaker of a century ago, this magical no-bake pie truly seemed as if it had been enchanted. On the back of this magical phenomenon, the dessert quickly swept across the entire United States, and in the 1950s, it was honored as Florida's official dessert. In 1987, it won the top prize in a national poll for the best local dessert. However, It's a bit of a shame that Florida later suffered a rare hurricane that destroyed a vast number of the local key lime trees. This, combined with the later decision to introduce the more commercially viable Persian lime, means that for Americans today who want to taste the most traditional, authentic key lime pie of yesteryear, well, it's not such an easy thing to do anymore.